let's talk about the Gamecock album, Patrick. That's where most Gamecock fans are going to know you from and familiar
Yeah.
with you. And like I said in the the intro, I mean, I still jam Just a Big Old Cock and We Ain't Far on game day. It's like a rite of passage on game day to jam those tunes. So obviously, congratulations to you and great work. But just talk about number one. I'm sure that had to be so cool to be able to kind of give back in a sense. I mean, you being an alum and a huge Gamecock fan, and to make an album that impacted so many South Carolina fans. And I remember when, right when you dropped them, right immediately when you dropped them, Wingo and his Yard Cocks when South Carolina won back to back. And I remember you seeing that, I think you posted on YouTube, was where you were saying, I'm just literally sitting here watching the game, and that became a hit. And then Just a Big Old Cock came out, and then the entire Gamecock album. Like, just talk about, I guess, diving into the Gamecock side of things, making South Carolina Gamecocks music, and like the inspiration, like what one day you like, what made you one day decide to do that? And obviously the album comes out and it's been a huge success.
Yeah, man. I mean, I came home from Nashville around 2008 or 2009. I don't remember what season it was, but we played Ole Miss. They were ranked
Yeah.
#4 in the country.
Yeah. 09.
I
Yeah.
was home that week. I was home that weekend for something. I probably had a show or something. And Chris Matlock, Matlock for the Gamecocks. He was the equipment manager for Lou, Coach Holtz, and I guess he stayed with Spurrier as well.
Right.
And so he asked me if I got tickets to the game. I went to the game. We won, and I remember Williams Brice, when it's rocking and when we're actually doing well.
And that was the birth of Sandstorm too. So it was nuts. Yeah, I was at that game. It was nuts. I mean,
I think Norwood had like like 5 sacks and I mean, it was a crazy game. But the feeling of that stadium, I basically was just, I was filled with a bunch of Gamecock pride, and I was kind of, I was like, man, this is awesome. And I had an idea. I was like, we need a song. Like it had nothing to do. There was no, I wasn't doing it for any like prideful for me personally. I was just thinking it was funny. I write songs for a living. So I was like, I'm gonna write some stupid ass song about the Gamecocks. And I came up with the idea for the title, and I just giggled. I was like, that's And then a week or two later, I was in Nashville, and I came, I think I was supposed to write one afternoon. And what often happens in these co-writing sessions is because we do go out and drink too much, someone cancels on you like the morning of the write. They're like, dude, I can't write today, man. I'm so hungover. And so I was like, okay. So I sat on my couch, just like I am now, basically. And I said, I'm going to write this song. And I literally did write Big Old Cock in about 25 minutes. I mean, I was laughing like a schoolgirl the whole time I was writing it, because I was like, this is so ridiculous. And I never thought anyone would hear it. I honestly thought that it would be just something stupid I would play for my friends to make them laugh when we were hanging out. I'd call some of my buddies. I mean, this was 2009, 2010. It wasn't even like, couldn't FaceTime anybody. It was like, I'd call over the phone and be like, listen to this. And my buddies just back home, big Gamecocks, are all like, you got to record that, man. You got to record it. And so eventually I got around to it. And what was funny is I sent it to a few friends, and they sent it to a few friends. And before I knew it, it was being played on like Jay Phillips and Michael Haney back then. They were playing it on the, and I find out this information secondhand because I'm in Nashville. And they're like, dude, they're playing it on the radio. Like, they're talking about, they're in the stadium. People are playing at tailgate. And so but it was a beautiful thing, because what it did was that, and then Wingo. I think I wrote Big Old Cock first, and then Wingo, and then the university actually asked Eric Nichols, and Coach Tanner was a few of those guys, that I'd met, Chad, a bunch of the football guys. They came to me and kind of were like, hey, we got to do something with the university where you could do 5 or 6 songs that were Gamecock related, and that's how the Gamecock album kind of came about. Was that, and I wrote a couple. I got Darius and Edwin to do the "We Ain't Far" with me, which seems like we are a long ways. We are far. That's what it should be called now. But back then it seemed really close.
Right.
And then I wrote "My Carolina," which is just I wanted one that was really pretty, that was kind of about the state of South Carolina, just that anybody, even if the Clemson fans. Because what's funny about Big Old Cock is that I have so many friends that are Clemson fans. I have family that are Clemson fans and Georgia fans, whatever. And they all will listen to that song and they're like, I want to hate that song, but it's just so cute and clever. I just love it. And so like, it's funny to me because even though I dog on all of those people, I think they get it. I always think that sports and music and, there's these things that make us closer together. And so I love sports because I can go, I can be in California, and if I see somebody that has on a Georgia shirt, I'll be like, oh, where are you from, man? Because I know instantly that I could talk about South Carolina and talk about Georgia. It's just, it's a nice, sports bring us a lot closer together than we like to. I mean, hell, Thanksgiving would probably be pretty boring for most of us if we couldn't talk about our rivalry between Clemson and Carolina. It's just, it's nice things. And so I think that's what, I've found from those songs. They brought a lot of joy into my life, and thank you, a lot of joy into a lot of Gamecocks, like you said. That's really nice. That makes me smile. It makes me very happy.
Yeah, I'm saying I still play it every game day, and it's like I said, it's a very witty, clever song, very catchy. Obviously, you came out too with the rendition when Will Muschamp was hired, and the update was cool. Giving props to Lattimore and Alshon and Clowney and like the legends, obviously. But I was going to ask you, how funny was it? Because I remember, if I remember correctly. Because again, it's funny that we wear hats with cocks on it and shirts and just a big old cock. Like, you think nothing of it, and then I'll have friends that when I lived in Charlotte for a bit, people from like upstate New York and Ohio, and they're like, "You wear cock on your shirt?" I'm like, "It's the Gamecocks." Like, they don't get it. You know what I mean? So like, I remember, obviously, if somebody that's not a South Carolina fan or not familiar hears, I wrote this song called "Just a Big Old Cock," they're gonna be like, "What?" And I remember the YouTube video when you made the music video. It was so funny because what is it in the beginning? The girl's like, "Patrick Davis, you are a big old cock," and it's like so funny. Like,
that's funny. That's Laura Bell Bundy, who was one of my friends, who's an actor. She's on
that was so funny.
But they think it's so funny because she's from Kentucky, and she's like, every now and then, what's funny is I'll get a text message from like, from Laura Bell or somebody, and they'll be like, "You big old cock." You know what I mean? Like, it's funny for them because they don't understand it. But I mean,
right.
We don't think anything of it. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you go to a game and there's a 6-year-old kid yelling "Go Cox," and nobody thinks anything of this. That's just, and so, it is pretty funny for us. And that's actually why the university actually asked me for the official album version. They have big old Gamecock.
Yeah, I know. I was like, no, because I was going to ask you about that too. You had to come out. I'm just a big old Gamecock. You like
they made me do it because they were afraid of the backlash. I mean, and that's NCAA. There's a lot of NCAA stuff that went into that too. I mean, I had to give you an idea of how like just backwards the NCAA is. When I did Wingo, I wrote Wingo for the second championship. They went back to back, and I wrote it just in front of the television, like when we were watching water or whatever. And well, when I went to put on the Gamecock album, I got a phone call from basically the NCAA clearance people at USC saying, "Hey, you have to change." Man, I want to say Mooney. Was there a Mooney whose brother ended up playing?
It was Marcus Mooney and Peter Mooney. So Marcus Mooney was his younger brother. Yeah.
So Peter Mooney, he was in the song. It said Mooney. Yeah. And it was obvious what I was talking about. All the shit in the song was from 2 years prior. It was a championship thing. And they said, you can't have this Mooney in there because they will think that it's the Mooney that's on the field now, and it will make him ineligible because it is a profit. You're making a profit off of it. It was crazy. And I was like, that makes no sense. So I had to go back in and change his name, re-sing it.
Right.
To not include.
So that's probably why you took Kumis out then, because he was playing. Forrest Kumis is a good buddy of mine. I always wonder. I'm like, why did the updated Kumis's name wasn't in it?
Yeah, we didn't tell.
Now I know. Okay, that makes sense.
I literally got a frantic phone call because I think we had already started the pressing of the album was about to start, and I had to get in touch with the company that was doing it, say, "Hey, you guys, you can't do this because of this." And so, I mean, it was a crazy situation, but I was like, that's what the NCAA is worried about. I was like, that is, I mean, I get it, but like, if you put this together, you're like, that makes no sense. Like, this has nothing to do with anyone on the field today. They're not profiting. No one's profiting off of these. Yeah. Just but yes, it brings a lot of joy. I mean, now, I am happy. It's funny because you're right about the big old cock. What's the song? It's, with someone I was on tour with Hootie last year before all this. It was a year ago now, which is crazy. But we did Europe, and I know it's funny because I'd be playing in Scotland, and someone would like be on my Spotify, and they'd be like, "So what is this big old cock song?" Because that's the song that you see. It's like the first song because all the Gamecocks are listening to it all the time for football season. I'm like, well, it's a song about my game. And they're like, oh, okay, Cox. Okay. But it's funny. Everybody sees that. It's just like, they're like, it's definitely something. I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. I always say to be known as the big old cock guy. So, it could be worse.
Yeah, could be worse. And I would say too, you timed it up beautifully because you dropped that, and obviously Spurrier and the team go on the run. And I mean, obviously everything's better when we win. Business and content and music. I mean, it just popped off, obviously, and became like the anthem for Gamecock fans. And you are right, it is kind of funny. I'll listen to We Ain't Far still on game day, and I'll watch like the music video, and you see the highlights, and you're like, we're not quite as close as we were, like, for sure.
But we'll come back around. I mean,
yeah. No,